Ever find yourself just staring into an aquarium, like totally mesmerized by those fish? It's like a whole silent world.
Yeah.
But what we don't see are those microscopic battles going on, like under their scales all the time. So today, we're going deep, like really deep, into how fish fight off things like viruses.
Yeah, their immune systems are way more sophisticated than most people realize.
Right. And it's actually super important, even for us.
Absolutely. Healthy fish populations, they're crucial not just for keeping our ecosystems balanced, but they're a major food source for a lot of people. So understanding how they deal with threats like viruses, it's way more relevant than you might think.
Totally. It's like a whole underwater arms race we don't even know about. But luckily, we've got some pretty awesome science to help us out today. We're going deep into a 2008 article from BMC Biology, and get ready for the title. Double-stranded RNA-activated protein kinase PKR of fishes and amphibians. Varying the number of double-stranded RNA binding domains and lineage-specific duplications.
Quite a mouthful, huh?
Yeah, tell me about it. But trust me, this stuff is seriously cool. See, it all boils down to this protein, PKR. Think of it like a bodyguard for fish cells, protecting them from those nasty viruses.
Exactly. It's like this. A virus tries to sneak into a fish cell. PKR is already there, on high alert, scanning for any trouble.
Okay, hold on. Walk me through this. How does PKR actually know there's a virus around? Like, what's the giveaway?
Well, viruses, they often leave behind these little traces, these little breadcrumbs of their presence. It's a specific type of RNA molecule called double-stranded RNA. Think of it like their calling card, like, hey, we're here to cause some chaos. And PKR, it's like, not on my watch. It's specifically designed to recognize this double-stranded RNA.
So it's like the virus uses its secret code, and PKR is the master code breaker.
Exactly. And when PKR spots that code, let's just say that virus picked the wrong cell to mess with.
Okay, so what happens next? Does it, like, sound the alarm, call in all the other immune cells for backup?
It's more like a chain reaction, a domino effect that PKR sets into motion. And this chain reaction ultimately targets another protein, a really important one called EIF2. PKR modifies it through this process called phosphorylation.
Phosphorylation? Now that rings a bell. It's like adding a phosphate group to something, right? I vaguely remember that from, like, way back in biology class.
You got it. It's like attaching a little sticky note to that protein, changing how it behaves. And in the case of EI2, once it's been phosphorylated by PKR, it's like hitting the brakes on protein production in that infected cell.
Ah, I get it. No protein production means the virus can't make copies of itself. That's one sneaky way to stop it dead in its tracks.
Exactly. It buys the fish's immune system some precious time to mount a larger defense, call in the cavalry and clear out that infection before it has a chance to spread.
So this PKR thing, it's like a first responder, holding the fort until reinforcements arrive.
That's a great way to put it, and it's incredibly effective. But here's where things get even more interesting. The PKR we find in fish, it's not exactly the same as what we see in mammals like us.
Oh, so how's it different?
Well, in mammals, PKR usually uses these specific regions, we call them DSRBDs, short for double-stranded RNA binding domains. These DSRBDs are what allow PKR to grab onto that viral RNA.
Makes sense. So what, fish don't have those DSRBDs?
They do, but here's the thing. Fish, PKR. Their genes, they're actually more closely related to a completely different protein called PKZ. And PKZ uses something called Zerna domains instead of, or sometimes in addition to, those DSRBDs we talked about.
PKZ, Zon domains.
Oh.
Okay, now you're just messing with me. What in the world is going on in those fish immune systems?
It's like they've got this whole other layer of defense, a secret weapon we're just starting to understand. And that's what makes this research so fascinating.
Okay, so double the defenses against viruses. I guess that makes sense. But this PKZ thing, using Zon domains instead of DSRBDs or even alongside them, that's where things get really wild for me. It's like fish have this whole other defensive strategy. Like, what's the advantage there?
It's a great question, and it gets into some really cool molecular biology. You see, those Z domains, they bind to something called zDNA. Now, most DNA, it exists in this right-handed spiral shape. Think of like a classic staircase.
Okay, got it. Staircases, I can visualize that.
Right, but zDNA, it's weird. It twists the other way. It's a left-handed spiral. And some viruses, they're actually known to form this zDNA. So it's thought that PKZ, with its Z domains, is particularly good at recognizing those viruses and then, boom, neutralizing them.
So it's like if regular PKR is the all-purpose defender, PKZ is the specialist brought in for very specific threats.
It's a great way to think about it. It's like having the right tool for the job, evolutionarily speaking. And speaking of evolution, remember how we were talking about gene duplication being this powerful force? Well, it gets even crazier.
Oh, no, what now? Don't tell me the fish have, like, triple the genes or
Yeah,
something.
you're not going to believe this. So there's this one species, the Tetraodon nigriviridae, or as they're more commonly known, pufferfish. These guys, they don't have one, they don't have two, they have three distinct PKR genes.
3. Seriously. This pufferfish is like the overachiever of the immune system world. What's the point of having so many copies of the same gene, even if it is one as important as PKR?
It gives them options. Think about it. Over time, those duplicated genes, they can evolve, they can change, so they can start to recognize and target a wider variety of viruses. It's like instead of having one security guard, they've got a whole team, each one trained to spot a different kind of intruder.
So the more PKR genes, the more diverse their defenses against all those viruses. It's pretty amazing. But I have a question. We keep talking about these genes and proteins, and it's totally fascinating, but how do scientists even study this stuff in fish? Like, it's not like they can ask them how they're feeling or take blood samples.
You're right, it's tricky. But that's where one particular fish species comes in really handy for research, the zebrafish.
Zebrafish. Are those the ones that are, like, see-through?
Exactly. Zebrafish embryos and larvae, they're transparent, so scientists can literally watch what's happening inside them, including how their immune cells are responding to infections, all in real time under a microscope.
Wow, so they can actually see those immune responses happening. That's incredible. So what have they learned about PKR from watching these zebrafish?
A lot. One of the coolest things is that we now have visual confirmation that both PKR and PKZ are actually doing their thing in a live animal. Like, this isn't just theoretical anymore. Researchers have observed both of these proteins successfully doing that phosphorylation we talked about, attaching to the EIF2 right there in the zebrafish cells, shutting down viral replication.
So like we said earlier, it's that domino effect in action. They're literally watching the dominoes fall.
Precisely. And it's amazing to see those theories proven right in a living organism.
So it sounds like scientists have a pretty good handle on how this PKR system works in fish. What's next? What are the big unanswered questions in all of this?
Well, the thing is, we've only just scratched the surface.
Really? What else is there? Okay, so we've been talking a lot about PKR, all its different variations. It's clearly a key player in the fish immune system.
Yeah.
But it's not like viruses are the only thing they got to worry about, right?
Oh, absolutely not. It's a jungle out there. Well, I guess technically an ocean, but you know what I mean. Fish, they've evolved in this totally different environment, completely different pressures than what we face on land.
Right, like they're swimming in a soup of potential pathogens.
Exactly. Bacteria, parasites, you name it. So it makes sense that they've evolved some pretty wild adaptations to deal with all that.
Okay, now I'm really curious. What kind of crazy defenses might they be packing that we haven't even thought of yet?
Well, think about it. They're constantly surrounded by water, right? That water, it carries all sorts of chemical signals. So it's possible, maybe even likely, that fish have evolved ways of sensing those signals, like changes in the water chemistry that tell them, uh-oh, danger's coming.
So it's like a biological early warning system. They can sense something's off in the water even before a threat actually reaches them. That's wild.
Exactly. Or how about this? Imagine specialized immune cells, but they're not just inside the fish, they're actually out on patrol in the gills.
Wait, so they have like these little immune system guards constantly checking who's coming in and out?
Something like that. They'd be sampling the water, on the lookout for any suspicious characters. It'd be like a microscopic border patrol.
That's amazing. It's like their entire external surface is part of their immune system.
And it gets even weirder. Think about all the bacteria in the water. Some of them, they're not harmful, they're actually beneficial. So fish could be forming these partnerships with these good bacteria, using them to help fight off infections.
So it's like they've got a whole army of microscopic allies fighting alongside them. This is blowing my mind. It's like discovering an alien immune system, but it's right here on Earth. It really makes you realize how much we still don't know about the natural world.
Absolutely. And, these discoveries, they're not just cool facts. They could actually have huge implications for us, for human health.
Oh.
Well, think about it. What if, by studying these unique adaptations in fish, we could find new antibiotics or new ways to fight viruses? Maybe even completely new ways of thinking about how to boost our own immune systems.
So by learning about how fish stay healthy, we can learn how to stay healthier ourselves.
It's entirely possible. It's like we've been so focused on ourselves, on our own species, that we've completely overlooked the incredible ingenuity of these creatures that share our planet.
That's a good point. I know I'm definitely guilty of that,
Yeah.
but no more. From now on, anytime I see a fish, whether it's at the aquarium or, on my plate, I'm going to take a minute to appreciate just how amazing their immune systems really are.
I think that's a great takeaway. Millions of years of evolution, constantly adapting and surviving. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
It really is. Well, on that note, I think we've done our deep dive for today. To our listeners, keep those fish in mind. And remember, the natural world is full of surprises.
And who knows what those surprises might lead to. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, stay curious.